Hi guys, and welcome to Mr. Movie Miles. I'm your host, Princess Concon, also known as Connor, and today we're going to be reviewing Howl's Moving Castle by Studio Ghibli. Yeah, let's get into it. So let's talk plot. We get Sophie, and she is a hat maker, and what we know about her is quite quiet, she's quite timid, she doesn't really think she's pretty. We know she's reserved in a lot of ways. She just goes to work and doesn't really do a lot for herself. In terms of like going out there and living life, she's kind of just a stay-at-home, get the job done and go to bed kind of lady. And one day she's walking to visit her sister, and on the way she is introduced to Howl, who's probably one of the greatest characters ever. Like, I absolutely love this character. More on that later. She is being followed by these guys, and Howl kind of saves her. And there's this incredible like chase scene at the beginning while Howl explains he's being chased by the Wicked Witch of the Wastes henchmen, they're really gross. And it's just an incredible opening to a movie. It's beautiful, it's action-packed, and yeah, he drops her off, makes sure she's safe, and he kind of just flies off into the wherever he goes. Later on that evening, the Wicked Witch of the Waste comes to Sophie, and she's like, send a message to Howl, and she turns Sophie into an old lady. We don't fully understand why at this point, but that's fine. So Sophie is now an old lady, and the next day Sophie kind of wakes up, she realizes she's still an old lady. So she leaves, and she makes comments on how she's always kind of felt like an old lady, and it's kind of a bit of the theme, but we'll get into theme later. And as she leaves the town she's in, she comes across a pumpkin head, turnip head. I'll get there in the end. And Turnip Head leads Sophie to the castle, the moving castle, Howl's moving castle even. And there, she goes in, and she just stays the night. We are introduced to Calcifer, who again is one of these, like, a great character. His design is brilliant, and she just stays the night. And the next morning we meet Marco, who is Howl's apprentice, and he's wondering why Calcifer would let her in. She explains she's the new cleaner and that Calcifer hired her. And then Howl comes in the previous night, but the next morning he's there, and he's like, and Sophie's like, yeah, I'm the cleaning lady, like, it's all cool, we're all good. Yeah, everyone's just kind of okay with it. But little does Howl know that Sophie and Calcifer made a deal. If Sophie can lift the curse that's on Calcifer, Calcifer will try and do the same for Sophie, I think, I can't really remember. So as the movie goes on, we find out that Howl is basically trying to stop this war. He doesn't want any sides in it at all, whereas the two rival kingdoms that are at war, they want Howl, both want him, and they are saying that he needs to pick a side basically. And Howl comes up with the idea is, how about Sophie, you pretend to be my mother, and tell them no, get him out of it basically. But throughout that, in between, they're kind of building relationships between Howl, Sophie, Marco, which is done really well. But when Sophie goes to visit this, she's not a queen, I think she's like a mage woman who taught Howl magic. We get there, and the Wicked Witch of the Waste is trying to get there also. So they have a race up these stairs, and it's quite an interesting scene because it's not really like a fast action scene, but it's quite intense because Sophie's old. The Wicked Witch of the Waste is getting older as she walks up the stairs because magic doesn't work there in this palace place. So it's a great scene, really quite suspenseful really. They get there, the Wicked Witch of the Waste, she gets sucked out of all her powers and her magic, so she's just this frail old lady, how she should look for her age, I guess. Howl comes and saves the day and gets the courage to kind of stand up to this mentor woman that used to train him. They escape. It's a bit of a drama, but it's not that a lot really happens. By the end of it, the war just kind of sorts itself out, but it's more like the journey of what Sophie goes through. Like, Sophie's an amazing character, Howl's an amazing character, and by the end of it, true love saves the day. Ever since, everyone kind of has a nice happy ending, and basically the movie, kind of getting rushing a bit there, but that's that. So let's talk characters. I've kind of changed things up a little bit, and I'm going to go with a pros and cons to the characters, and even the cons are quite, even the cons are still quite good for the characters. It's not like what I thought was bad about them, it's what I think makes them interesting, their pros and cons. So let's start with Howl's pros. Howl is very charismatic and charming throughout the movie, especially when we first meet him. He's wearing this extravagant pink coat, and he looks great. He's charming Sophie, and the idea is that he charms a lot of women because all the women think that he's going to eat their souls, and and then get rid of them basically. But obviously he's not like that. He's a good guy. But yeah, he's charming throughout, which is, even as you as a watcher, like the viewer, you're very interested in how he's going to charm the next person that is around. But then later when we see him at like on a more personal level, he's not as charming. He's just, you know, it's all like a facade to an extent. But he is charming also. It's a great character. Like it's written very well for that. He's charming, but at times he's also a little boy. Another pro would be he's powerful and very skilled in his magic, and we see that throughout, from the beginning of the film all the way to the end. He always pushes his powers a little bit too far at times, which again could be a little bit of a con for him, but a pro in terms of just an amazing character and how powerful and skilled he is. It's very interesting to watch. Howl is very protective of his built-up family. You know, he has Marco, who's training to be a wizard. Is it a wizard? Is that what they call him? But he has him to look after. Calcifer, he's very caring and nurturing, even if he is also very childlike at times, or vain even. Yeah, I've got to be vain, less than childish, you know. Even though he is very vain, he's also very compassionate. When he sees Sophie and what, you know, the spell has done to her, he's compassionate always, even to other people. Even though he like ghosts people quite a lot of the time, like the wicked witch of the waste. But when he finds out she's not beautiful, he's like, get away from her. So he's vain, but he is also very compassionate to a lot of people, and we see it throughout the movie, which I think makes him an even more complicated character. He's two things at once. He's vain, but he's compassionate. He's also mysterious. Like a lot of the time, you're kind of wondering what's his deal. What does he truly want? When we first meet him, we don't know a lot about him. We hear like rumors of what people think he's like, but actually when we meet him, he's completely the opposite. But he still has that mystery to him that I think never really goes away throughout the film. I'm always wondering, like, who is Howl? Even though we know who he is and we see who he is, there's still this kind of, I don't know, there's no mystery. I want to see more of Howl, but obviously we don't get a sequel. Even though the books, there's like sequels and stuff, but we never get it. Howl also avoids responsibility, but his growth and his journey kind of allows him to kind of come to terms with he needs to step up and do the right thing, or not necessarily do the right thing, because he's always doing the right thing, but he's making sure he's doing the right thing by himself, by his family, and I think that's great, great character development all throughout. Now let's get into his cons. Howl is a coward through most of it. Everyone calls him a coward, who knows him. Sophie kind of alludes to it, or does she say it? Anyway, I watched this film last night and I'm already forgetting. But yeah, he's a coward. He doesn't want to join the fights because he's not, I don't think he's scared in that sense, but he also doesn't do anything to change the outcome a lot of the time. And when he tries to, nothing really changes. And yeah, just very interesting. He's a hero and he's brave, but he's like the biggest coward when it comes to actually doing something about the world he's in. Another con about the character, he's vain. He's vain as hell, like, but it's kind of what makes him fascinating when he's this big, brave character, and then the next minute his hair's changing colour and he's screaming and he's moping around, and a literal visual representation of him. He turns to slime. Great visual, and yeah, him being vain, it's a con for the character, but it's a pro as like a viewer. I think another con would be he's hard to read. Ooh, nearly fell. He's hard to read through most of the film, not even for the characters. And for us as a viewer, it's like, what is his deal? But because he's so fascinating, it's like, okay, he's hard to read, and that's who he is. That's what makes him interesting. So it's a con for the character, but it's great for us as a viewer. Now let's get into Sophie. Sophie is, she's a great character. She's kind and compassionate, which I think is one of her main characters, like traits, I guess. For that, it's a big pro. She's always helping others before herself. That's kind of like what everyone kind of tells her. She needs to be more selfless than, you know, just caring for everyone else, but it makes her a great character. And I think it's a good role model for a lot of young people who watch this film for the first time. So props. Another great pro for Sophie is that she's strong-willed and determined all the way. She gets the job done. She's never really, she's scared. She'll tell you that she's scared, but she will do what needs to be done. She will help. She will be brave even when she's scared. And I think, again, fascinating to see. Like, she's not just, you know, when they write women in a lot of anime or animation, or just women in general, they seem to be quite one note, and that's not the women's fault by any means, it's just how certain men write them. But she's written as a person before she's written as like a woman, like her gender doesn't matter. She's a great character through and through, and I love her for that. Another pro is that Sophie is loyal all the way throughout the film, and most of the characters are, but hers shine through the most, and I think she teaches a valuable lesson to the other characters. And you can be loyal even when you're scared or worried or brave. Like, she's just there for everyone no matter what, and yeah, great character, love her. And finally, she's like really powerful, really, like not magic wise, but as a person, as a friend, as a romantic interest. She's the hero of our story, even though it's called Howl's Moving Castle. Oh, camera. She is the main camera. She's the main character, and it just shows how powerful she is, even without magic or some other supernatural element to her. She's just a powerful character because she's kind, she's warm, she's nurturing, she's loving, she has every human trait, and she feels it fully, and we see that, which makes her very powerful to me. Let's get into the cons for Sophie. Her biggest one, flaw, I guess, is that she's very insecure through most of the movie, especially when we see her at the beginning. She's shy, she's timid, but she feels like she's not beautiful. One of the first lines where we see Sophie, but she doesn't say anything, but all the women are looking at Howl's castle, and they all talk about how he only eats beautiful women, but Sophie's just sitting there. She's listening. She doesn't react to it, but it kind of, the theme of feeling not beautiful in your own skin is one, very relatable to a lot of people, but you see it throughout the film. And then obviously she turns into an old lady, and then she realizes she doesn't have to be physically beautiful, even though she's stunning, but it's how you feel on the inside. So it's a flaw for her, but again, it's a great message, and yes, she overcomes it in the end. Another would be she's overcritical, but of herself, not really of other people. I mean, she can judge people when she sees them, obviously, like most of us do, but she's very overcritical of herself, and again, that's a very relatable trait. So I'm glad they show that. It's a con for her, of course, but she grows from that. She learns to accept herself because others accept her, so why wouldn't she? And yeah, a great message. So let's get into Calcifer, the lovely little fire demon thing. He's great, absolutely love him. I think some of the greatest, a pro for me for this character is that he's very sarcastic, he's witty. He's sometimes the comedic relief, but not in he's whimsical or anything. He's just funny, he's interesting to watch at all times. And again, he's mad powerful, which is another pro. He's, carrying this house, he's protective, he gets the job done, even if he's forced there. Well, he says he's forced there, but I feel he technically is, he can't move, but he let Howl eat his heart, or I can't remember the process, but he's there by not free will, but I'm sure he's happy to be there because he stays. But again, a great character, and pros all around for him. Cons of the character, he's grumpy, a lot of the time. Sophie just tells him no and shuts him up a lot of the time, but he's very stubborn. Again, I'm saying they're cons, but they're all pros. I don't really have a bad thing to say about these characters. They're all fantastic, but Calcifer is great. I think another con, though, would be that he's dependent on Howl, and that he needs Howl to survive, but also Howl needs him. So they kind of just put up with each other a little bit, even though they're friends. They're like two guys living together. The house is a mess. They just get on with it. They're bros, really, by what we see. I think finally, the final con for him, I'd say, is that he's kind of manipulative, especially at the beginning with Sophie. He's, they kind of trick each other, they play each other. It's a great scene when they first meet. One of the best, really. But yeah, he's manipulative as shit, but I'm here for it. I know we have the Marco character. He's a great character. He's very lovable. He's charming for a child, I guess. He's just you just gravitate towards him. He's just adorable. His little beard thing he has. But pros and cons, he doesn't really do a lot in the film. He just kind of, to me, he serves the point as he's something for Sophie to kind of look after and love, and just build this family. He plays his part really well. He doesn't really do a lot though, but I think he's just there to help Sophie's journey. And finally, I'm gonna just stick with I'm going down a hill. Finally, we're gonna talk about the Wicked Witch of the Waste. Love this character. Her pros is that she's interesting as she's probably one of the most interesting characters. Visually, design is just incredible. Cons, she's selfish, she's evil. She's like Howl, she's obsessed with beauty and looking younger and all that, crap. But her journey from being this powerful witch when we first see her to literally the next scene we see her in, she's just getting weaker and weaker and less terrifying. We see her how she is, this old frail lady, and again it's just it's fantastic. I love it. All these characters all together, brilliant. So let's talk directing. Well, I'll start off with the obvious, like the animation of it all. It's stunning to this day. I remember this was like the first Studio Ghibli film I'd ever watched, and it still blows me away, and I see something new in the animation every time I watch it. It's absolutely gorgeous, and to know that it's all like drawn, like people, well, did Miyazaki do it all on his own? I'll Google it and have a look. But again, it's beautiful. I never think there's like a boring thing. Like every visual that you see, you could pause the movie and have it as a background on your phone or on your laptop, or just even like as a painting on your wall, like a picture on your wall. It's absolutely incredible what they've done, and yeah, love it. The next part, I think, from the directing or the creation of this is the score, the music. Beautiful. There's times like in my life that I've just put it on just to listen to in the background, just to relax to, or just to enjoy the beautiful sounds that it brings in the music. It's fantastic. I think the music really serves the film really, really well. The music is a character in itself, so maybe I should have put that with the characters parts, but it is a character in itself, not as like it's part of the story, but it enhances the story in many ways. Let's talk about the cinematography. I guess you'd call it cinematography, even if it is in animation. Again, beautiful. When you see Howl's castle for the first time, amazing. Every time you see the castle, it's amazing. When the castle is just this little platform and the hills are in the background and it's like trying to walk, stunning, absolutely stunning. I can't hate this movie. There's nothing really bad to say about it. It's stunning, it sounds great. Characters are well written, amazingly written really. It's so complex. So the director, Miyazaki, amazing, but I think a lot of people already knew that. Let's talk theming. The standout to me would be love and acceptance in oneself, not necessarily for others, because I think all the characters love each other, but it's them loving themselves that are a big issue for them. But it's handled really well. The journey that a lot of the characters go on are quite similar. They either love themselves too much, like Howl, or not enough, like Sophie, and then they kind of find a middle ground where Howl learns to love someone for who they are, while Sophie learns to love herself for who she is. So again, brilliant. Another theme would be war and peace. You get the main story, and in the background there's like a war going on. It's still part of the main plot, but you don't think about the war when you talk about Howl's Moving Castle, but the theming of it is, there is no right side. War is war at the end of the day, and there are no winners. The only people, the people in power are completely fine, whereas you get, people like Sophie and her family and Marco, who are in actual danger of being killed and their lives being ruined. So again, handled magnificently. The next theme would be the power of compassion. Throughout the film, we see Sophie who hates the Wicked Witch of the West. And then when we see the Wicked Witch of the West as she truly is, we might be still a little bit, hateful towards her, but Sophie's very much, oh, you're just like me, you're just an old lady. Obviously Sophie's not really an old lady, but it's, the power that just the compassion has, that you can go from hating someone to moments later being, oh, I see you for you. You're not as bad as what your past choices don't matter, because where you are now is very different than who you were then. So again, handled brilliantly. I think the final theming that I found really would be like ageism and beauty standards. I don't know how to word it really, but it's that kind of area where, Howl is so obsessed with how he looks that he sees other people not as beautiful as him. He might not say that, but he uses words like when he realizes the Wicked Witch of the West isn't as, a beautiful young lady. He's like, he's out, he's dipping, he's gone. Whereas Sophie, on the other hand, she always feels like an old lady, and then when she's turned into one, she kind of realizes, not much has really changed for her. She still feels the same, so she has to change inside to kind of realize, okay, I might feel old, but I'm not. I can still love it, and even if I am old, it doesn't matter because I can appreciate what's around me. So again, like not ageism, but the age theming of being old and being young and youthful and beauty, handled beautifully, I guess. It's stunning. It does it really, really well. Overall, Howl's Moving Castle is an extremely brilliant, beautiful, well-crafted movie. Again, it was the first one I ever watched of Studio Ghibli. It's left an impression on me since I was a child, and to this day. I could watch it 100 times over and never be bored. I will show my nieces and nephews this film when they're a little older, because it's just an incredible story and just beautiful. I kept saying the same things over and over again, but it is just beautiful. The score is amazing, the animation is outstanding, and yeah, that's my thoughts. If you like this video, please leave a like, leave a comment, subscribe to get more. Who's your favourite character in Howl's Moving Castle? What's your favourite Studio Ghibli film? Which one would you like me to review next? And yeah, I'll see you in the next one. Take care. Bye.